The shrine did not look like a shrine. That was the first disappointment and the first lesson. Kai had expected something with a roof, even if it was broken. A carved lintel. A worn threshold. Some sign that people had once come here with purpose. Instead, Don found them standing beside municipal concrete and a gate tagged with 3 layers of faded warning stickers. The old world had not preserved itself for drama. It had hidden inside whatever the new city was willing to leave alone. Mina seemed almost pleased by that. She had spent enough time with records to know that important things rarely stayed cleanly labeled. They survived as bad copies, side notes, misfiled sketches, and places no one wanted to repair properly because the budget had gone elsewhere. Ryan, less pleased, stepped around a puddle and declared that history should try harder to look haunted if it wanted people to respect it. At dawn, it looked like a locked maintenance gate beside a drainage channel, a rusted handrail, and a concrete wall stained dark by years of rainwater. Cars hissed along the road above. A convenience store sign buzzed blue and white across the street. Someone had left a cracked umbrella in the weeds. They had arrived in separate pairs, just as planned. Mina and Ryan came from the bus stop, arguing softly about whether a thermos counted as tactical equipment. Kai came with Han from the tea shop, both of them walking without conversation while the sky lightened behind apartment blocks. Lena appeared last from the convenience store with a paper cup of coffee she did not drink. No one looked gathered. That was the point. They waited 2 full minutes before moving to the gate. 2 minutes was long enough for a delivery truck to pass, for the clerk inside the convenience store to stack newspapers by the window, and for Kai to notice the same silver car circle the block only once before continuing downhill. Once could be nothing. Once was still written down in Mina's small notebook. Ryan stared at the gate. Ancient majesty. Very moving. Mina adjusted the strap of her bag. Old sites get built over. That doesn't make them less important. I know. I'm just saying the sacred umbrella really completes it. Kai would have smiled if the ember had not gone so still. The stillness made every joke arrive from far away. It was not the dead stillness of exhaustion or the locked stillness of fear. It had depth. Kai felt as though he had stepped into a room where someone had been speaking moments before and every word was still hanging in the air, waiting to be understood. Stillness was new. Near the ruins, the ember pulled. Near the service road, it tightened. Here, at the drainage bend, it settled as if listening to something under the concrete. Han noticed. Describe it? Quiet, Kai said. But not empty. Lena stood near the road, watching traffic reflections in the store window. She had insisted on coming. She had also insisted Ryan carry a thermos and Mina carry nothing she could not run with, which had started an argument Mina lost only because Han backed Lena. Mina crouched by the wall and brushed dirt away from a row of shallow marks. These are not cracks. She said it with quiet satisfaction, the way other people might say found it. Her gloves were already damp at the fingertips. Ryan shifted to block the view from the road without being asked, pretending to inspect the cracked umbrella with great scholarly interest. Kai noticed the movement and felt the familiar mixture of gratitude and guilt. Ryan was becoming useful in ways that made jokes unnecessary. Mina photographed the marks only after checking the reflection in the convenience store window. The picture looked unimpressive on her screen, stained concrete, shallow curves, a hand for scale. She took it anyway, then another from farther back to show location, then one more with the gate number visible. Evidence, she had explained, needed context or it became decoration. Kai crouched beside her. The marks were nearly hidden under mineral stains, but once Mina traced their path with a gloved finger, the pattern emerged, 3 curved lines around a small bowl shape. The listener bowl, Mina whispered. Ryan leaned over them. So this is real. It has been real for a while, Mina said, but her voice was hushed. Han unlocked the maintenance gate with a key he did not explain and led them down a short flight of concrete steps. The air below smelled of cold water, rust, and stone. A narrow walkway followed the channel under the road, where runoff moved in a dark ribbon toward the river. The sound changed as soon as they descended. Traffic became a muffled wait above them. The water took over, not loud but constant, sliding through the channel with patient insistence. The concrete walls were newer near the stairs and older farther in, patched in sections where different decades had solved the same problem badly. Mina ran one gloved hand close to the wall without touching it, reading construction seams like a timeline. There, half sunk into the wall, was an older stone. It did not belong to the concrete around it. Its surface was worn smooth, and the carved bowl at its center had been filled with gray dust. Someone had tried to scrape it clean recently. Fresh scratches cut across the old lines. Kai disliked the scratches immediately. They were too straight, too practical. Whoever made them had not hesitated. They had treated the stone like a stubborn mechanism, not a place where tired hands had once worked in the rain. The damage was small enough for a repair crew to dismiss and wrong enough that Kai felt it behind his teeth. Mina took one photograph, then lowered the phone. North River. Lena touched the scratches with the edge of a folded cloth. Someone impatient. Kai stepped closer. The system stirred. Heritage marker detected, river quieting point. Function, resonance bleed regulation. Status, damaged, active under stress. It regulates resonance, Kai said. Or it used to. Mina's eyes snapped to him. The water channels. The ruins. The underground intersections. If this story has you listening this far, subscribe to Azure Inkblade so the next chapter finds you instead of getting buried. It helps us keep making more of these every week. Now, back to the chapter. If this point fails, pressure might reach the stones faster. Han nodded once. Now you understand why rushing to power is not enough. Sometimes ascension begins with maintenance. The word should have been ridiculous. Maintenance belonged to leaking pipes, elevator notices, and the school janitor's cart. Yet down here, beside dark water and damaged stone, it sounded almost sacred. Kai thought of all the vows he had once wanted to make in larger language. Protect. Defeat. Ascend. None of them had included keeping a channel clear enough for pressure to bleed safely into the river. Ryan made a pained sound. I am begging the universe to make our destiny sound cooler. Lena handed him the thermos. Hold this. Kai approached the stone slowly. He did not touch it at first. He breathed the way Han had taught him, not hiding the ember completely, not letting it flare. A rhythm. Warmth inward, warmth outward, like banked coals feeding a room without filling it with smoke. When his fingers met the carved bowl, the water in the channel trembled. Mina inhaled softly but did not speak. Ryan froze with the thermos tucked under one arm. Han watched Kai's breathing rather than the stone, which told Kai exactly what mattered. The contact was gentler than the central slab, but more intimate in a different way. The marker did not ask him who he intended to become. It asked whether he could help something old keep doing its work. That question humbled him more than the slab had. The slab had recognized intent, and intent still allowed a person to feel central. The quieting point barely cared about him. It cared about pressure, water, damage, and whether the next person to touch it would make the work easier or harder. Kai found comfort in being less important than the task. Not much. Just enough for the reflected road lights to break apart. The system appeared in quiet lines. Contact accepted. Stage 3 path stabilized, 18%. Maintenance resonance registered. Temporary benefit, veiled flame recovery improved near water channels. Kai exhaled. The relief was so plain it almost hurt. Recovery. The word sounded small until his tired body heard it. Since the threshold, Every gain had seemed to arrive with a cost he noticed too late. The marker offered no leap forward, no grand new power, only the possibility of breathing easier near water and not tearing himself open to remain hidden. That felt more precious than a weapon. Then the stone showed him a memory. It was brief, 3 people kneeling beside the channel when it was still open to the sky, rain falling hard, one of them laughing despite exhaustion as another packed clay around the bowl carving, a child holding a lamp under a cloak to keep it dry. No grand ceremony. No chosen hero. Work done because the water was rising and someone had to do it. The laughing person in the memory had mud across one cheek. Their hands shook from cold. Another worker swore when the packed clay slipped, then pressed it back into place with both palms. The child under the cloak lifted the lamp higher when the flame began to gutter. No one looked inspired. They looked necessary. Kai pulled his hand back. "What did you see?" Mina asked. "People fixing something in the rain." "That's it?" Ryan asked. "That's enough," Han said. Footsteps sounded above them. The memory vanished so sharply that Kai nearly stumbled. The channel returned. The cold returned. The hard drip of water from the ceiling returned. Above, the footsteps crossed the grate with a measured weight that did not belong to a jogger or delivery driver. Everyone in the tunnel seemed to become a shadow of themselves. Everyone went still. Lena moved first, silent and sharp, taking position near the stairs. The footsteps crossed the road, paused near the maintenance gate, then continued. A vehicle door closed. An engine started and faded into morning traffic. Ryan let out a careful breath. That felt arranged. "Yes," Kai said. Mina checked her phone. Her face changed. Someone just filed an emergency work order for this drainage section. North River subcontractor. Inspection scheduled for tomorrow. She turned the screen so they could see the public filing. It looked harmless, almost boring. Drainage safety inspection. Minor obstruction. Authorized subcontractor access. Kai stared at the words and understood why Vale's people liked paper. Paper made intrusion sound like procedure. Paper made old stones into maintenance issues and sabotage into scheduled work. The scheduled time was worse than the notice itself. Tomorrow, early enough that most businesses would still be opening, late enough that workers could claim visibility and proper access. The filing named a subcontractor none of them recognized and listed North River only as billing contact. Mina took a screenshot, then another with the timestamp visible. Her hands were steady now in the practiced way of someone who had decided shaking could wait. Han looked at the damaged stone, then at Kai. Then they are not waiting for the alignment. The water moved below them, dark and steady. Kai could feel the old marker breathing through the wall, weakened but not silent. This was not a battlefield. Not yet. It was a place holding together because no one had finished breaking it. That was worse, in some ways. A battlefield would have allowed panic to become action. This place needed photographs, complaints, records, and people willing to care before the damage became spectacular. It needed them to move slowly while North River moved with stamps and permits. That made leaving harder. "We document everything," he said. "Then we get out before the crews arrive." Mina was already raising her camera. Ryan held the thermos like a ridiculous ceremonial object while Lena watched the stairs and Han quietly described every visible mark on the stone for Mina's recording. Kai stood with one hand hovering near the wall, not touching again, just feeling the tired rhythm of the marker through damp air. Leaving still felt wrong. Staying would be worse. That, he was learning, was often how correct choices felt.